And I want to talk about aggressive confrontation, that issue. I know that this week we had one of the vendors in the farmers market pull out or pull out from that location. I had the chance to speak with the owner of that company, who had raised some concerns about homelessness generally in this city, and I asked him to explain to me the incidents that he was referring to, or that he wanted that were impacting him. He pointed out 4. The first one was the shooting that took place at the Pecan Streets Art Festival in 2017. It happened after the festival had closed on the Saturday night before it opened on Sunday night. I don't think that it involved someone who was experiencing homelessness. I don't remember, but it was back 3 years ago. And obviously, while it happened while no one was there because it was closed, very few people, I can certainly understand how that would be pretty disconcerting. It was near his booth on the Pecan Street Festival. The second thing that he talked about was in the spring of last year, in 2019. So again, before we passed any ordinance changes as a council, he described a situation where he and his family were trying to get to their car in a parking garage, and there was someone who was asleep or passed out, blocking the elevator, and 311 was called, and I think the fire department came and assisted in that situation. The third thing that he addressed occurred several weeks ago, not at the farmer's market, but at a coffee shop nearby. And there was someone who was aggressively panhandling, was aggressively confronting people. The person got loud and was upset. And he reports that police officers arrived and said that they weren't allowed to take action against people who were experiencing homelessness. And then more recently, he talked about what he perceived to be increased aggressive behavior downtown. He also had issues with respect to how the farmers market was being run and the management and other kinds of issues. But I do want to talk about the third and fourth thing that he mentioned, because I'm seeing it discussed on social media and in other places. First is we have an ordinance in this city that continues to make it wrongful conduct, illegal, to aggressively confront people downtown or anywhere in this city, and I think it's really important for everybody to know that we have that ordinance, and there's defined terms. Aggressive confrontation includes people approaching or following pedestrians, repetitive attempts to confront another person despite refusals, the use of abuses of profane language with an intent to cause fear and intimidation, unwanted physical contact, or the intentional blocking of pedestrian or vehicle access. Our ordinance defines aggressive behavior. Our ordinance defines confronting. Those things are all illegal in this city. And I just want to confirm for the public, because I don't know what happened in the conversation that ensued. But do we continue to enforce our ordinance against aggressive confrontation?
Mayor, Council, my name is Joe Chacon, I'm one of the Assistant Chiefs. To answer your question, Mayor, yes, we continue to enforce the ordinance. The ordinance, guidance on the ordinance has been put out to our officers over the last several months, and the expectation is for our officers to enforce those ordinances as they see fit. They do have the ability to, they have discretion on how those ordinances are enforced. so that we see an end to whatever the conduct is. However, the statement apparently that was made by the person that was complaining that...
And again, I don't know whether that statement was made or not. It was just a report.
Right. I can just tell you that our officers, the expectation is certainly there for them to enforce those ordinances.
Within the last week or so, I was asked, and it was suggested that there had been instruction from members of this council to the police department not to enforce our aggressive confrontation ordinance. Is that true?
No, that is not true.
Okay.
Not at all.
If there's additional assistance or additional programs that we can bring to bear, we heard from the first person that talked today about aggressive behavior and quite frankly how oftentimes that becomes a self-fulfilling kind of prophecy. If you walk into an exchange anticipating aggressive conduct and you act in a certain way, you might help precipitate aggressive conduct. But if there's additional resources that we need to bring into our street, more street navigators, greater host team presence, greater community paramedic presence, greater social work folks on our streets. I don't want the meme to be created that there's aggressive behavior, aggressive confrontation occurring to a city that we're not being responsive to or dealing with. I recognize on social media sometimes these things just catch and then all the world starts commenting on it. I want us to stay ahead of that, and I want us to affirmatively react to that and make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that everyone in our community feels safe. I mean, everyone in our community, and recognizing that people who are experiencing homelessness in our community much more likely to be the victims of crime than to perpetuate crime. If you or the chief or anyone can identify any additional resources or things that we should be doing as a council to further support your work, I want to make sure that you let us know.
Well, Mayor, I appreciate that, and I can tell you that working through the Homeless Working Group Strategy Committee that we have, that what you said exactly is what happens. You have one incident that is reported and it catches fire on social media. I think that education is the key. I think that we have a good communication strategy on how we're pushing out the message, the correct message, and really what reality is. That when we're looking at our violent crime incidents, especially in the downtown area, that a small minority of them involve an individual experiencing homelessness. What is driving that right now is gun crime. It is people that are not homeless, and we put things in place to begin to push that down, and that is working. But I think that education and the communication piece is going to be the key in that.
Okay. Every chance you have a chance to address that and say what you just said out loud, I'd appreciate it. And if people could see that clip of what you just said widely, because there are some pretty loud voices right now on social media that are pushing isolated incidents as if they were the norm, and creating fear in our community, which does not make us a safer place. I know that we had a spike in crime a year ago as we were moving into the spring festival season. No one at that time suggested that had anything to do with people experiencing homelessness. The police reacted by creating a greater presence downtown. That worked. The spike went back down. We now have another spike, and I saw the chief the other day telling the community that he was going to redo that greater presence again. And I hope and expect that it has the same impact that it had before. I trust manager and that if what is appropriate is for us just to maintain that level of presence over time, maybe with a larger city, it's just something that we need to do on an ongoing basis. But whatever it is, whatever you need in order to be able to keep the community safe, please just ask us. And I do appreciate what you said a moment ago. More and more people need to see that. Thank you.
Thank you.